Lesson 77, we're going to look at cones. And a cone is just a shape with a cylinder as you have the same base, top and bottom. A cone, you have a base, in this case a circle, and it meets at a point or a vertex. So if I label definitions of a cone here, you have your radius, well, because that is half of the circle, so we know that's the radius. We have the altitude, meaning your height, and your altitude is always perpendicular. Notice the little right angle there, always perpendicular. You have your vertex, because the cone has your base, and then on the opposite end of the base, you have the vertex. And then lastly, you have your slant height. Slant height is labeled with a lowercase l, and it is, literally, I guess, the slant. And there's no perpendicular sign there. It's not a right angle. But that would be your slant height. So there's a difference there. Now there's three formulas we're going to look at. The first one we're going to look at is lateral surface area. The lateral surface area is, imagine if you had a cone, the area of all of the triangle part, in a sense, is the lateral area, not the circle. So it excludes the circle. So our lateral surface area formula is L equals pi times radius times slant height. So in example 1, it wants us to find the lateral surface area of this cone. So we simply plug in what we have. What's our radius? Our radius is 3. So we plug in pi times 3. What's our slant height? Well, it's keeping it easy right now. It just gives us our slant height of 7. Plug that in, and then you multiply and solve. 7 times 21. So we got 21 pi. And let's see how it wants to answer. It wants it nearest hundredth of an inch. So I'll multiply 21 times pi. And get roughly 65.94. 65.94. Now, since we're referring to area, it would be inches squared. So that would be, no, sorry, I missed my circle, but that would be your lateral surface area for the cone. Let me erase this one now that we got that. Now let's look at surface area. Surface area is simply the lateral area, the area of the lateral surface, plus the area of the base, so the circle at the bottom. So our formula, this is the formula, or you could call it, if I broke it down even further, it'd be surface area equals, well, L is pi r L. And base, well, our shape of our base is a circle. So for base, we plug in pi r squared, because that's how you find the area of a circle. So we use this formula, and example 2 wants us to find the surface area of this cone. So we plug in for our formula here. So we got pi, radius is 4, slant height is 5, plus pi, r is 4, squared. And then you would solve. So you got 20 pi. 4 squared is 16 pi. And let's see how it wants our answer. It wants it in terms of pi. So if it wants it in terms of pi, we can just add these because they're like terms. It's like saying 20x plus 16x, but we have pi as our variable. So we add them together. 20 plus 16 is 36 pi. And I believe our measurement in centimeters, so centimeters squared, since we're referring to area, even though it's surface area. So that would be that's how you do surface area. Then it gives us one more formula. Over here, our formula for volume. Now, surface area is like the outside. So it's, if you had a party hat, or if you had a cone, like an ice cream cone, it would be the area of the ice cream cone. Volume refers to basically how much ice cream you can put in the cone. It's the inside. So volume, our formula, if you remember for a cylinder, is just area of base times height. A cone is just 1/3 times area of base times height. And then we plug in, example 3 wants us to find volume. So we have our formula here. Our height has to be perpendicular. Notice the difference between height and slant height. Surface area and lateral area use slant height. Volume uses actual height or altitude. So our height here is 5. So we plug in 5. And then pi r squared for B would be pi r squared. So we plug in 3 for r. Hopefully you can see all that. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5 times pi. So we're left with 45 pi. And it wants our answer to the nearest tenth. So we plug in 45 times 3.14. You get 141.30 roughly. And I believe it's units, it didn't give anything. Now since it's volume, you actually do units cubed. Units cubed, so that would be your volume. And that is how you do lateral and surface area and volume of cones.